They charged me with resisting arrest.
Get that confidence in jail.
I object.
Hello, fellow patriots, and welcome to another episode of Allegedly Bravo. I'm Lauren.
I'm Cash. Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
Hi, how are
Oh,
you?
great. It's the weekend, baby.
It's the weekend.
I got my
baby.
glass of Sauvignon Blanc.
Oh, Sauvignon Blanc. Wow, that cup is something else.
Yeah, I don't think it's a wine glass, but it just makes me feel special.
No, that's a coupe. That's a coupe glass. That's gorgeous.
Wow, I just opened this bottle and it's really fine wine. It's the Cupcake Sauv.
Oh, wow. It's a bold thing to admit here on the
very
internet.
tart. I've never had it before.
Yeah.
Very tart.
Do you like it
It
or
just
what?
Got
you in the
twisted
jaw?
my cheeks.
You know what? That is actually the perfect way to describe
Woo.
it. Twisting your cheeks.
Woo, woo, woo.
Well, I have my glass of rosé.
Chars.
It's
Chars.
Bing. It's not Whispering Angel this time. Because I've really tried to encourage myself to step outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I went to Total Wine and I went by myself. I left the man at home and I said, let me navigate this joint on my own. Wow. I picked out beer. I picked out wine. And my rule was nothing. I couldn't buy anything I've ever seen or had before.
That's a fun spirits trip.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So had tried before, but I did cheat because I know I said no angels for myself, but I got the Palm Angel.
Oh, it's different.
It's different, right?
And it's like when you're in college and you're used to drinking just like cheap vodka. And then when you become an adult, you're like, wow, there's like Belvedere and other types of
right.
Like I can afford this now. Like you're in that phase. And I mean, Whispering Angels, don't get me wrong, is very expensive for a bottle. It's like $26 a bottle, but like we lived on that in law school.
In a very unfortunate way. Like I can't even, that huge bottle that we got is still filled with feathers right by my front door. It's like what greets people.
I love, yeah.
So
the
anyway,
angels, I mean, like we said, you drink a bottle of that, you guys, the angels are whispering. We are adamant that there is methamphetamine in it or something.
Yeah.
Because it's like what I would assume, like people that have adverse reactions to tequila. That's what I'm like on angels. It's like, I'm like, let's go, let's get tattoos, let's fly across the country.
Literally, let's get tattoos. Remember that?
Yeah. I do have a tattoo that I love.
So do I.
Love. We shall not speak of because there are people who are
we won't
not
speak
fond
of it,
but I love it. It's a dollar sign.
I love it too.
It's a dollar sign.
Yes. We won't speak of it, but it's a dollar sign. And mine that I got while wasted in cash was a piece of cheese.
It's a dollar sign and a maybe on my butt.
It might be, she might have embraced her inner Tom Tom. And she was like, a woman can be part of Tom Tom as well. And Cash is now the number one guy. Group, and that's just
and you have a piece of cheese.
I did the cutest piece of cheese.
Such a fun memory we got. Not blackout where you wake up and you're like, wow, I don't remember this because I fully remember laying down on the tattoo table. But it was just something I wouldn't have done without the angels pushing me, like guiding me. Just like
exactly.
Walk up the
they
stairs.
Were like, they really are gardening angels. It's like,
Oh my God, how dare you mispronounce something? Wait.
What did I say?
I don't know. I thought you mispronounced it. Anyways, you said Tom Tom, and I know this is kind of off topic because we're going to get into kind of a housewife's debriefing in a minute. But I have to get your opinion on the Tom Katie drama of it all. Because
so for those of you who don't know, word on the street is
they broke up.
Now, I am of the camp that says no, they did not, but I wish they did.
And I am of the position that they did break up because I believe Katie has found her groove.
Katie is she's totally in a groove. However, I will say she's outwardly in a groove, but also like there is no sandwich shop.
We know that for certain. Well, I mean, their primary investor fell out and
just literally cheated on their best friend, like asshole brand. By the way, Criminality just did such a good episode. Oh my God, it's on Fofty. It's like the Fofty brand drama. Oh my God, I was dying. It's so good.
They're so funny.
Everybody go check out Criminality. Their episode was so good. Okay, but let's dive into our own podcast. Okay. So first of all, alert. We're running a fundraiser in our bio over on Instagram /allegedly Bravo. We're raising money for a charity called Direct Relief. And the whole purpose is to get medical equipment directly on the ground into people's hands in Ukraine because they're really in desperate need of tourniquets and stuff. So our goal is we want to raise $300. So far, we've raised $70. So we really need you to go over to our Instagram, go to the link in our bio and donate to Direct Relief. Also, if you don't want to go through Instagram, in our link tree, I've linked the direct link to their website.
And I know sometimes you're like, it's inconvenient. Like, I got to click on this. Like, I don't know. If you're going to go up to Starbucks and spend $5 on a coffee, you can forego that coffee and make a donation. You know, you can forego getting your nails done.
$1,
forego,
$5.
Exactly. It's important. It's crazy what's going on over there. And I saw a video of the hospital being bombed, and it's oh my God, it's really sad. So
we just want to do everything that we can to make sure that while all this tragedy is going on, like we got to get medical help into the people's hands. So please go donate.
Yes.
And shout out to our VIP patron. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead. What?
Oh no, my internet cut
Oh,
out.
okay. Okay. Shout out to our VIP patrons, CK, Classic Sky Tops, and Mr. or Mrs. Smith. Okay, Cash, why are we? Oh, do you have anything to add, by the way?
I just wanted to get into the topic. We are doing doing kind of like a mixture of our normal episode mixed with our debriefing, where we're going to just talk about some hot topics, very Salt Lake City related. We are going to dive into that allegation that was dropped in last week's episode of Salt Lake City, where Lisa said, you, Heather, have a DUI, which I think we were all pretty shocked to hear, because the tabloids weren't speaking of this.
No. And here's what I have to say. Like, what is going on in Salt Lake City where it's like, I cannot believe that these women have gone 2 seasons and just now is when like all the stuff is like, quote unquote, being leaked. It's like all of these are public. Like,
yeah, I think it's, everyone went into battle. They had some weapons that they were showing, and then they had others in their arsenal that they weren't showing. And I think this is one of Lisa's. And I think Lisa was just at a breaking point during that reunion where she felt so attacked and she had nothing left to say. And so she just threw that. I mean, she was having a meltdown. She was having a full blown meltdown in that part of the reunion. And I think that because
she was panicking. Well, real.
Go back to that scene where they're in Aspen and they're sitting outside and they're talking about Mary Cosby and what's going on with the church. And then Meredith, somebody is saying, Lisa, well, just tell us. And she's kind of getting flustered. And then she just like blurts it out.
Yeah.
Like, there's no restraint.
She makes me laugh.
Like there's no restraint. And I feel, but you said it on our Patreon. Like you think that she's kind of a dumbed down, watered down version of Bethany Frankel. At least that's what she's trying to do. I mean, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, like very much like using all synonyms. Okay, no one come for me. I said that she was like a watered down Miami version
Oh,
of Bethany.
and that's offensive to the Miami ladies.
Well, I just thought like her dress was so Miami like, but I liked it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know my feelings on Salt Lake City. I just feel like it's a total freaking dud. But at least the things we're going to talk about today are kind of salacious and fun, and they're bringing life back into Salt Lake City for me. So,
well, that's good.
Let's get
okay. So let me tell you about Miss Heather Gay. All right. So Heather Gay is known as everyone's former favorite Real Housewife of Salt Lake City.
I mean, I would say that's controversial, but I think it's widely accepted.
Not mine. I love her. She has made some very bad choices this season, but I still love her. And I still like kind of stan her in her own weird way.
Do you think she's going to rebound next season?
Oh, yeah. I think she got that season 2, favorite housewife edit where they like make you the bad guy, and then and then it'll be like Rinna, where like everyone hated Rinna and then everyone loved Rinna. And now it's like everyone loves Rinna.
Yeah. And I'm interested,
except for everyone who hates.
Well,
Rinna.
And I'm interested to see too, how next season plays out. Well, I'm assuming they've probably already started or they're going to start filming soon.
No, they were filming because that's right. And then they had to cut her.
And it would be interesting though to see with Jen Shah's trial and everything playing out on screen. And if, when the guilty verdict gets dropped, will Heather change her tune or will she still be a ride or die?
Yeah.
I think a lot
when the guilty verdict gets dropped, that gives me the chills, Cash. Well, we're going to talk about that a little later on.
Yeah, Yes.
Okay, let me tell you about Miss Heather Gay. So Heather and Whitney, who's one of our favorite, people on this franchise, they're third cousins. Okay, so they're not even first cousins. Like I thought they were first cousins, but that's just not true.
No, they're Mormon cousins where there's a third, a fourth, a fifth, and they're Mormon cousins.
I know. I feel like if I got my little genealogy books out that are in my cabinet, like I could trace myself back.
Yeah, I think we're all related. I mean, if you have blonde hair, and blue
exactly.
Eyes, if you have blonde hair, blue eyes, you are a descendant of Heather Gay.
Yeah, a descendant of Heather Gay. Heather Gay just has 10 million kids running around with blonde hair and blue eyes. Okay. So Heather and Whitney are third cousins, and their common relatives are this guy named William Edward Robinson and his wife, Jane Chipman. And I like that name, Jane Chipman.
Is William Edward Robinson the one who was the chauffeur to Joseph Smith?
No. But I'm going to get there. Don't you worry. You and your coupe glass will be listening to all of that.
Trying to make sure my ice isn't shaking in the mic.
Oh, I know. I'm trying to. I really am trying. Like both of us really are. We heard your feedback loud and clear. And
almost.
I'm trying not to touch my mic.
We heard it as loud and clear, almost as loud as our background noise. So we're literally.
Okay. So, but remember Angie?
What happened to her?
Okay, I think it was something to do with a divorce, which is like so annoying.
She got a divorce?
Or no? I don't know. I always do this.
No,
where
you're
I'm just
making
like,
that up.
Angie's getting a divorce. And it's like, I don't even know if she was married.
No,
to be
she
honest.
was married because remember they had the huge party for their child who was part of the LGBTQ community. And then Heather and Whitney dropped the bomb that they were on Angie's yacht in Mexico with her husband, and Lisa's jealous of that relationship because Angie really has money and Lisa does not.
Whoa. Did I black out?
Did I make
that? Like, I don't
Did I make that up? I swear.
Honestly, like if you made that up, that's so impressive and you need a job at Bravo immediately.
No, I swear that there was like a confrontation that happened. Anyway, so I'm sure somebody will let us know.
Somebody will let us know. But in fact, Angie and Whitney are related, but Angie and Heather are not related.
But doesn't that still, so you're saying related by blood, because technically they would still be related. They're just not related by blood.
That's a good question, because the whole family tree thing is just like super confusing. But here's the deal. Whitney is related to Angie through Whitney's third great grandparents, who happen to be Angie's fourth great grandparents.
You've lost me.
All this to say, Angie and Heather are not related.
Don't believe it. They're related.
Everyone's related. Everyone is a spawn of Heather.
Exactly.
Okay,
I need a shirt.
so
I need a shirt that says that I'm Heather Gay's descendant. Or like
I am Heather Gay's
or I'm a descendant of Heather Gay. I'm related.
I love that.
I'm related to the gay.
I'm related to the Mormon royalty. Okay, so speaking of, you asked, how was Heather like into all that money, right? Like the royalty. Is that what you asked?
No, I was just asking if the man you mentioned earlier was the famous grandpa who was the chauffeur.
Oh,
yeah.
Correct. No, but now we're going to learn about that. Okay, so Heather and her ex-husband, Billy, were married, and they shared a very traditional Mormon marriage, and they like totally loved each other. Well, actually, that's not true. They had more of like a friendly relationship. But when they did divorce, like Heather was allegedly devoted, and I can totally understand that. Like, of course you're devastated.
Well, yeah, especially, and I think she talked about it in her first season that her life was her husband, her life was her kids and her marriage, and she had nothing else. And so think about the one, like the pillar, the foundation of your family being like, we're done. And you having nothing, you have no money, you don't have any, like you have nothing really. And I don't mean this in a condescending way, but you have nothing going on.
Well, because you just went from this whole identity to having to totally like figure out what your new
and
life is.
If that is not a perfect, what Heather Gay has gone through, a perfect example of, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh my God.
If she's a rich bitch now.
I just love her. I love her.
She's a rich, independent bitch.
She really is. So her ex-husband, Billy, and her, when they separated, Heather and Billy agreed that Heather would have 100% physical custody of the kids, of the three girls, and 100% decision-making power over the girls. So that means she's 100,000 million %. She has physical and legal custody of her girls, according to what I read. Okay. But the husband, Billy, he completely 100%, like without question, financially supports them.
I would love to know.
Okay.
The financial situation there. Like, are we talking he's, Southern California suburban rich? Are we talking you're multi-million, like you're an heir, you have mailbox money or whatever Shep used to call it from Southern Charm?
Yeah.
Because the way in the townhouse she's living in, yes, it's beautiful, but it's very modest. And so it's unclear to me if this is real wealth or if this is just suburban wealth,
Okay, well, I think I can help you out. Okay. So just in 1 second before I get to that. Okay. One of the ways that the husband financially has money is he actually has trademarked the phrase Mormon royalty.
Okay. I'm sorry, but that can't be.
It's not the main way of the income, but that's just the next bullet point on my list. I wasn't anticipating a question, so I didn't organize this very well. Okay. Okay. So this is why Billy and Co was rich. He was rich because his grandfather was Howard Hughes's driver and henchman.
Okay.
Do you know what a henchman is?
No, but that's what I was talking about. The driver chauffeur thing.
Yes, exactly. So it was of Howard Hughes. So allegedly, or like factually, I guess, how the family Gay became rich is Howard Hughes actually left Grandpa Gay like a quote unquote huge portion of his estate. Okay, so do you know how much his estate was worth? Howard Hughes? $11 billion.
Oh, so he's rich.
Yeah.
So
okay.
in a
So
chunk,
if someone
if you're
says
saying a chunk of 11 billion, that's at least
a huge portion, that's at least a
I
couple.
would say at least 20 mil.
No, quote, huge portion of 11
Oh,
billion,
I thought you said
20
a chunk.
million. No, a huge portion. I mean, even 20 million would be like, whoa.
11 billion. I mean, $11 billion. Are we talking in today's money? Or are we talking
in today's money? In the other day's money,
so I bet
it was 2.5 billion.
I bet they own a bunch of property. I bet that's where the money rolls in.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Wow. You go, Heather.
Yeah. So that's where that money comes from. But Heather's actually very successful on her own with her beauty lab and laser, which is now valued at over $20 million.
Whoa. And so she's in a partnership though, correct?
Unclear.
Because when they did that weird funeral, I know that woman showed up and it was her business partner. And so I wonder how they have it split. Is it a 60-40? Is it 50-50? Is it, because I would assume the lady that does the actual procedures would own more than what Heather owns.
Unless Heather's like bankrolling
she's
the whole
capital
thing. Which it seems like if you're related to a billionaire.
And I want more of that.
By way of
I know we got
exactly
we got a lot of that at the first season, but it's like, hello, like what, let's see the growth. Like I felt like the season was a blur of just like BS.
This season was actually insane. Like a fever dream.
Oh, you're right.
Like
you're right. It was 100% a fever dream. We got nothing from no one. Nothing from no one.
We did get nothing. We ain't got nothing from no one.
Nothing from no one.
I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, and I would like to tell you, if my internet is cutting out, it's because my fiance is in the living room, and for some reason, when he's on his iPad, he has his iPad and the TV on.
Yeah, because he's probably streaming on
he's
both.
Just sucking the data and the Wi-Fi.
I know. He's like, you know what? I'm going to watch lots of videos.
And I'm not going to listen to or pay attention to while I play my video game.
Exactly.
Anyways.
And I will let the dog bark. Okay. No, we love him. We love him. Okay. So here's where we're going to begin, as if we didn't already just begin. Here we are. We're sitting on the couch. We're watching all these women sit around in their weird dresses and that very awkward weird set with the hole in the middle. Yeah.
It's literally a melting ice cap. Like it is what climate activists are talking of, like speaking of and advocating against.
Exactly. It's like, that is not exactly like what we need to see. There's a war going on.
Where's Greta Thunberg? Like get in there and protest.
She's trying to get there. She was trying to get there.
Protest the set.
She tried to. So she did try. From what I heard. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Greta, get your ass over there. We can't be having this kind of shit. Not on our TVs. But from that very unethical set, Lisa Barlow screams, "What about your DUI?" at Heather.
I want to go back and watch it because I want to remember where, and it goes back to like what I was saying at the beginning of Lisa Barlow just like having a complete mental, physical meltdown. I can't remember what stemmed this or triggered this word vomit from her.
You know why you can't remember, right?
Why? Because it sucks?
Because it was the absolute most boring fucking episode on the planet. Okay. Okay. So then Heather responds, "I don't have one. Look it up." Okay.
Lauren looked it up.
And upon looking it up, Lauren found that Heather was arrested on July 1st, 2012 for driving under the influence. And this is all alleged, which actually not really alleged, confirmed. According to Utah court documents. So I would say it's just straight up there, obtained by the Sun. Okay. How did we get into this position? I mean, a good Mormon gone bad.
I mean,
right?
We've all been there. We've all had one too many drinks. Of course, we absolutely condone drinking and driving, especially in the day and age of ride shares.
Uber.
But I mean, I know everybody has had one too many glasses of alcohol and gotten into a vehicle.
Right. So it's like, let's not all. Yeah. I don't know what else to say other than like, don't do it. Take an Uber. But like also, Heather, this is said with love and no judgment, except for that we did judge you that you were drunk.
I mean, what the fuck?
Make better choices.
As an adult, though, that's what I'm like. As an adult, what are you doing with children? What are you doing?
I know.
Very judgy.
Yeah, children that you're 100% responsible for. Okay. Anyway, don't drink and drive. It's fucking bad. Get an Uber. If you can't afford an Uber, one will be appointed to you by way of coupon code or literally even DM us. I'll pay for your fucking Uber. I don't care. Okay. So, according to an officer, he saw Heather's car driving down the road in her 2004 Range Rover. I'm not sure what color it was, but I imagine Heather in the white Range
Really?
Rover.
I think black.
Okay, really? Why black?
Because she's in the snow. I don't think white. Like, you don't want a white car in the snow.
You're so right as a person with a white car in the snow.
Yeah, my grandma has. That's why my grandma drives a yellow car in the snow. Because she fears the one day if she does, in fact, veer off the side, that somebody will see her.
Okay. Your grandma's nuts, but that's a good idea. Oh my God. I told you what my grandma said, right?
Yeah. No, we'll say, yeah.
Okay.
We'll say
we'll not talk about that.
That's for the Patreon.
Okay. So I picture her, she's driving down the street and I picture her just like rocking out to some tunes. Like it's late at night and Heather's feeling herself in her 2004 Range Rover, all divorced and hot AF. Okay.
You know what this reminds me of? I had a case where there was a girl, she had to have been like 20 something years old, 20, maybe just 21. And the defense attorney she hired, we were very amicable with one another and would joke around and stuff in court. Actually, and this is after him calling me sweet cheeks or whatever in court. He called me sugar. Yeah, that was a debacle. But anyways, his defense was, he's like, come on, Cash, like, let's give her a break. She's really young. Like she went to brunch with her girlfriends and she was just driving down the highway, listening to Britney Spears Toxic. And she got a little out of hand.
Yeah.
And it just made me laugh because that's how I picture Heather Gay, is just listening to Britney Spears jamming out.
Exactly.
We've all been there before with like out of care in the world.
No care.
You're just in the moment. But it was.
Your windows are probably down and it's probably just like the right. And you're kind of still sweaty from the club and you're like really hot, but like the wind is like making your hair all like pulled tight and cold. Like just amazing.
But there's
like, one of the best feelings a girl could have. But
there's nothing more relatable than that. And having somebody tell me honestly of just, hey, this is what she was doing. I was like, been there. I mean, minus the alcohol. Been there.
Exactly. Okay, so the officer saw Heather's car swaying from side to side. Swaying from side to side. Okay, this is according to the Sun.
Word you used? Or
I didn't put a quotation mark. Is swaying a weird word?
Yeah, because that's you're saying that.
I think this is from the police report.
You're saying the car was swaying. That means that the vehicle was in fact swaying.
Yeah, down the road.
No, that's swerving.
Okay, maybe it was swaying from side to side.
Swaying, you're inferring that the car was going back and forth, like on its wheels, teeter-tottering back and forth.
Okay,
like an earthquake.
So if our theory is correct and Heather was rocking out to Britney Spears, I believe that may have been correct that was used. Yeah. Okay. So she was initially stopped for having no headlights on while driving this 2004 Range Rover, which is why I think that goes to support the fact that she was swaying from side to side. Okay, so upon the stop, the officer noticed that Heather's eyes were really glassy.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
And there was I know, right? Like, and there was everyone's eyes get glossy when they really start to belt out toxic. Like, you can't help it. The power.
It is so funny though, when people, I guess, like, even when you were younger and you were trying to hide maybe that you had a glass or two or a beer when you were under the age and you came home.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no way my parents can tell.
Oh my God.
And after doing multiple DUI trials and after watching multiple hours of body cam and after doing ride-alongs, it's like, it is so obvious when somebody is impaired, like so deeply obvious. So
can you tell that I'm a little impaired or no?
I mean, I can't really see you, but your eyes are a little bit droopy.
Can you see where I am right now, by the way? My Zoom
You're
background.
in San Francisco.
I came to the hood. I was like, I need to go say hi to my girl. Yeah. So I went to your house.
So gorge.
Okay. So the officer was like, Heather, honey,
you smell like alcohol.
You smell like alcohol. Your eyes are glossy. Have you been drinking?
Of course, I've been drinking. I had a few sips with my friends at the club.
And of course, as we all laugh and go, of course, Heather didn't say that. Who would say that? If you were pulled over by an officer and they said, have you been drinking? Would you ever say, yeah, I just went to the club. I'm turned. And you probably shouldn't do that. But Heather did.
That's
do
very
that.
true to Heather Gay, though.
I know. She's just so honest. So she did tell the officer, look, I did have a few sips with my friends at the local club. Okay, good for her. But then she also freely gave up the information that she also has a prescription for Adderall. And according to the police report, this is a direct quote from the officer that he wrote in the police report. Heather freely informed officers that she will take an Adderall pill in the evening if she wants to stay buzzed and awake to go out to a club or something else.
Ooh.
Heather.
Oh, Heather.
This isn't a bachelorette trip, honey.
Heather's the type of gal that just like can't hold it in and she just word vomits. No. It's like, yes, officer, I was drinking. This is what I consumed today. Here, take me in. I'm so sorry.
Heather is the type of friend that after the body is buried, after the trial is had, you can tell that you actually did the crime. Because if you told her before, she'd be like, and she'd like spill the beans, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, but one smart thing that Heather did do is she refused the breathalyzer test, which did buy her some time. Okay, so whenever you refuse the breathalyzer test, then the officer's more likely than not gonna arrest you.
Oh,
and get a search warrant for your breathalyzer, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know Utah law, but in the state of California, if you get pulled over for DUI, there's what's called a field sobriety test where they walk you through multiple, like the finger to nose, the walking the line. And then they also ask you for what is called a preliminary alcohol screening exam, which is voluntary. And they advise you that is voluntary. So when you're out in the field, you don't have to do it. And then they admonish you of whether or not you want a breathalyzer or for your blood to be taken. And so she denied that, then yes, she would have to get a search warrant.
Yeah. So that's when they take her or whoever, her in this case, down to the police station, and she had to submit to a test that tested her blood alcohol content. I'm assuming it was blood.
It had
not breath, right?
To be blood.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Wow, it has to be blood.
Search warrant. I mean, you can't. A search warrant for the whole purpose of the search warrant is, it's an invasion of somebody's personal privacy. You're obtaining a specimen sample. I mean, breath disappears. Blood specimen and having it. It's very different. Two very, very different things.
I was in denial about the whole blood taking out of your arm thing because it's just
they have
brutal.
a nurse come and do it.
Oh, thank God.
Duh. Yeah, it has to be a registered nurse. Oh my God.
Okay. So after they took Heather's blood and they tested it, they found that she had a blood alcohol content of 0.06.
Mm-hmm.
In California, the legal limit is 0.08.
Correct. But we've stated this on prior podcasts. There are two different elements of drinking and driving, or two different code sections for drinking and driving in the state of California. One is driving under the influence, and two is driving under the influence with a blood alcohol level of a 0.08 or higher. So you can still be arrested and prosecuted and charged with DUI if you are deemed by a jury to be found under the influence. And so there are experts out there that have testified that a blood alcohol level of a 0.05 is enough for a person to be impaired for purposes of driving. So I have gotten guilty verdicts on 0.07s before because they were so impaired for purposes of driving that it was evident based on like the body cam, the officer's testimony, that they were too impaired to be operating a motor vehicle. And so here, if you had a combination of a 0.06, she was most likely falling, which means her blood alcohol probably at the time of the stop was maybe a 0.08. And then by the time she got to the station, it had fallen to a 0.06. But then if you have this combination of amphetamines or, benzodiazepines, whatever, it can affect I think it's like the metabolites and the way that your body metabolizes the alcohol. You could go on for days about this, but
you sound so smart. I mean, not that you don't always sound smart, but I'm like, wow, metabolize, breathalyze. Okay. So she also tested positive for amphetamines, which is like, duh. She just told everyone that she was on Adderall. Okay. However, all like these news reports that I was reading were saying like Heather had a blood alcohol content of 0.06 and tested positive for amphetamines. And it's like, okay, sounds scary to say things like amphetamines, but can we all realize that that's like a fucking Adderall? Like that's like a lot of people are on amphetamines and it's not methamphetamines. And also, even if it was methamphetamines, that's also like a form of Adderall, I think. Now, meth, on the other hand, is a whole different ballgame. Right?
Yeah. And it's like when I used to see, like in my early stages of working as a prosecutor, whenever I would see, MDMA, I'm like, whoa, that sounds like that's intense. I'm like, oh wait, that's ecstasy. Like that's Molly. And not to discount that those are hard drugs, but it's just like this misconception of like amphetamines mixed with methamphetamines. And yeah.
It's like they use these scary words.
I mean, they are scary. Like people shouldn't be taking these without, you should not be taking ecstasy or Molly at all, but you should only be taking Adderall if it's prescribed to you.
1000%.
And you probably should not be mixing it. I've never had a prescription for Adderall, but I'm pretty sure you can't, you're not supposed to drink it with alcohol, I would assume.
And also, you definitely shouldn't be driving on alcohol and Adderall mixed together.
And most importantly, I don't think you should be at the club.
I don't think you should be at the club.
You should be organizing a drawer at your house.
Exactly. Go home, organize a drawer. Okay. By the way, sorry, one more sidebar. People probably hate this. I got a new vacuum today, and on my Welly B, oh my God, I vacuumed everything. The radiators, behind the radiators, between the radiators, under the refrigerator, behind the refrigerator. I'm obsessed.
And that's how you.
So go do that, Heather. Go home.
That's how you medicate properly. That's how you utilize your medication.
Exactly.
Properly. Doctor,
use it for yourself.
And I'm assuming that's doctor approved. So.
Yes, because she did say I have a prescription for it. So we can obviously only take her word for the truth. She's never lied.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay, so she pled not guilty, which, as we've learned in previous episodes, means that she gets herself a little trial. And she filed a motion to suppress evidence in that trial. And she argued that
just because you plead guilty doesn't mean you necessarily are going to try. I mean, you may have to go to trial, but it is just you entering a not guilty plea. Yeah, if you enter a not guilty plea at arraignment, that is very, 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 very normal. I would say almost 100% of the time you're entering a not guilty plea.
So could you not get a trial then?
Yeah, so you could go through the pretrial phase. And so they'll set pretrial conferences. So you could have maybe 2, 3, 4 conferences where, evidence is exchanged, discovery, you go through, you look at whether or not you have potentially a case. And I'm speaking from the perspective of a defense attorney. You see if you have a case and you look and weigh the evidence and you talk to your client, you're like, hey, this could be a triable case, or, hey, I think the best option for you is to take the offer presented by the prosecution and just get this done with and enter a plea.
Yeah.
So you can always change your plea at a pretrial.
As we saw with all of Jen Shah's alleged former friends. Ooh, we'll get to that. Okay. So, that's the information that you should know, not what I said, but what I will say is true. What?
Oh, what I was going to say is the motion to suppress thing is very, very interesting. So she filed a motion to suppress, which is very normal if you think there's like at any time an unlawful search and seizure. If you think there's,
and what does that mean?
So if you think there's a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, meaning, they unlawfully detained you, they unlawfully arrested you, they didn't have probable cause to arrest you. And in this case, she's arguing, hey, the search warrant that you issued for my blood was related to alcohol. So they're saying what was articulated in the police report was only for somebody who was under the influence of alcohol, not somebody who was under the influence of methamphetamines or amphetamines. And so I don't know if this is just a Utah issue, or if this was just like a very broad sweep of like, she was just trying to file a motion just to file one. But in California, if you get your blood taken, you get your blood taken. And if it shows you got methamphetamines, if it shows you got benzodiazepines, like that's what happens. Like,
I mean, it's kind of like, is it considered plain sight?
No, because because the search warrant's being written for driving under the influence and driving with a 0.08 or higher. And so, the officer's citing there's probable cause to believe that this person's impaired for driving. And so if your blood is coming back and saying, hey, look, not only is there alcohol, but there's also all these other types of drugs. And that's why it was denied. So I'm assuming.
No, you're right. It was denied. Which I mean, like you said, was a weird thing anyway. So we kind of figured.
So weird. So yeah.
But basically, like a motion to suppress means you can't they don't want to let any of the evidence relating to that test to come in to the trial or.
Yeah. So a motion to suppress is just, they're going to say what they want the judge to find that there was an unlawful search with the search warrant. So if it was to be granted, then the blood draw is thrown out. And so if you throw that blood draw out, it's like, what kind of evidence does the state then have to continue prosecuting this case? Really nothing. Right. And so they would most likely have to dismiss.
Right. But hers was denied. Her charge was reduced to reckless driving. So I will say, okay, let me finish the sentencing. Her thing was reduced to reckless driving. She was sentenced to 180 days. 178 of the 180 days were suspended, and the remaining 2 days were allowed to be completed via community service. She was also required to pay a $600 worth of fines, and she had to serve 364 days of probation and attend a live MAD victim impact panel, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
So I think Lisa was right.
Exactly. So when Lisa said like, oh, you have a DUI, and she's like, no, I don't, look it up. It's like both of them were right, because she had a DUI and was reduced to reckless driving.
Yeah. And reckless. Are you sure it was reckless, or was it a wet and reckless?
The internet said
so. That's
reckless.
interesting because those are two very different things. I mean, reckless driving is you're ripping down the freeway, going in and out of the lanes of traffic without a care in the world.
Well, when your ex-husband's a billionaire, and I'm sure you have like the best lawyers that Salt Lake City has to do, like it's reckless.
Well,
driving.
And when the judge is probably your great grandpa, like I
know exactly.
Can we just talk about the sentencing really quick? 180 days with 178 suspended is wild. You guys, a reckless driving in the state of California would be, you wouldn't even get, I don't even think you would get charged with it. Let's just say in this day and age. A wet and reckless, you're not going to jail at all. What is
178 suspended?
So that means she's sentenced to 180, 178 suspended. So that means the judge is requiring her to serve 2 days, which she probably already had for credit for time served. So if she were to violate any term of probation within that 364 days, she would then, not always, this isn't always the case. She could have then been sentenced outright to the remaining 178 days. So they use it kind of as this like threat of, hey, we're giving you this opportunity to rehabilitate, to get shit aligned and right in your life. But if you mess up and you violate probation for whatever probation terms were in place, and you come back in front of me, you best believe I'm sentencing you to 178 days in custody. It's really smart because it's a really strong deterrent. It's because
and it's a good way to give people a chance.
Yeah. And a lot of people who aren't criminals who, because I feel like DUIs are like a very, and I don't want this to come off wrong. We're like not very criminal, like your normal, your grandma could get a DUI. And so it's a lot of just like normal everyday people.
Would you say a more mainstream crime?
Or just more, I guess,
equal opportunity.
Yeah, an equal opportunity crime. And so you're getting these people who are freaking the fuck out because they're pulled over by a police officer. They're sitting in custody for 12 hours, and then you have a judge saying, hey, if you mess up, like you're getting. And so it's a very good deterrent for members of the community who actually contribute to this community,
Yeah. Well, good for her.
Might not work for a hardcore criminal.
Right. If you count someone, we'd have a different conversation, but or unalived someone. Okay, so here's what I want from Heather after learning all this.
Yeah.
I kind of need Heather to like, we saw she's like, oh, listen, I'm no longer a Mormon, so I will be drinking and partying. Mm-hmm. Great. I support that. I love it actually. And watching it is entertaining for me. And I think she's a good, fun person to be drunk with. I do need to see her do some Mothers Against Drunk Driving or something like activism, because I feel like now that we know this, like, you know what I mean? Like even Luann went to that school and was like, you're going to be a model once you lose some weight.
Well, Luann and Heather Gay are two very different people. Luann went on a drunken rampage, beat up a police officer, and was charged with a felony.
I know, but wouldn't it be fun to see Heather
it would be fun to see Heather address this. Like, this is somewhat salacious. Like, I would love to see.
She's been called out. I need to see her do something with
it. you want some community service, it sounds like.
I want some community service. You know what? Make it fun. Have all the girls over to do that thing that you did with the officers where you get progressively more drunk and you take this test. Do that.
Oh my God. It'd be so funny.
You know how fun that would be to
watch?
Is it
bad? I was going to say like organize a 5K.
Okay. I would never do that. And neither would they. Honest to God, Cash, if I ever got arrested for drunk driving and you were like, you need to organize a 5K to redeem yourself, I would just not do that. I could never do that. Would you
take the 178 days in custody?
Yes. I wouldn't even hesitate. I would ask
you guys, and
I would take the full 180.
That was my mom like channeling. I felt like that was like a Heather Dubrow with her mom sitting at the dinner table where you're like, I'm not my mother. And then it was just like this wave of my mom does shit like that. I'm like, God. Hey, we're not going to have Thanksgiving dinner until everybody hikes a mountain with a weighted vest.
Oh my God. Does your fiance know what he's getting into?
No. We've never talked about that turkey trot.
All right, girl, don't tell him till February of next year. Okay.
We've never talked about that turkey trot. Okay, moving on. So in our last hot topic at the debrief is we're going to give you guys a little Jen Shah update. So as everyone knows, Jen Shah was supposed to be headed to trial at about 10. I think it was the 2nd, right? It was supposed to be last week. And so her trial was continued as we all, and when I say all, me and Lauren figured, because there's just so much discovery. We've said on prior podcasts, there was like 1 million documents for defense counsel to go through. And I don't think that was enough time. And so they had continued the trial to July 11th of 2022 because of a few outstanding issues that they cited, because there was, I don't know if this made mainstream news. I mean, Lauren and I are obviously abreast of it because we look at the docket, but Jen Shah did this really weird thing. And I don't know because I've never been on the defense side, but she issued a subpoena to all the other co-defendants or the co-conspirators in the case for like work product, the attorney's communications with the government, impeachment evidence, exculpatory evidence. And that is just, I don't know if I'm like so blind to this, but that is abnormal from my perspective, because there are there are penal code sections that govern criminal discovery. And the discovery is to flow through the prosecution. And so that's why now you're seeing Sue Chain's attorney, other attorneys coming through and saying, hey, we want the court to put a stop to the subpoena. And so it's what's called a motion to quash. And so you have this opportunity, if you as an entity or as a person receive a subpoena, you can come back and say, I don't want to produce anything, and you need court intervention of like, here are the reasons why. And I want to just like read some excerpts, because I don't know if you're privy to this, because I did this little research on my own.
Oh, I love that.
You guys. So not only have the subpoenas, right? So the subpoenas are asking, like I said, for all of that information, but so during the pretrial phase, like when you're leading up to trial, you have what are called motion in limines. And so these are these motions that are brought by either party to allow or to exclude certain types of evidence. And it's usually the defense saying, hey, look, I want to exclude this statement or this type of evidence because it could be overly prejudicial, right?
Yeah.
So the government had written, so I'm just going to go over like the rules of evidence really quickly, just very, very brief. So there's a rule of evidence where the court can exclude relevant evidence if the probative value is substantially outweighed by a danger of one or more of the following. So most often not unfair prejudice, right? The prosecution can't bring in certain evidence because it's going to make a defendant look poorly in front of the jury, and it's just not fair. Another one could be confusing issues, misleading the jury, undue delay, wasting time, blah, blah, blah.
And probative means like
high value,
like finding something that's actually like important to this trial.
Yes. And so a lot of times, like to put this in like a layperson's perspective is, so a lot of times really what defendants try to exclude is evidence about themselves, right? Like personal moral character, a person's character, evidence, character. So I think like we learned about this obviously in law school. And I think it's confusing sometimes, like as an outsider or a lay person, when you're watching a criminal trial that's public, you're like, what the heck? Like, why wasn't that person found guilty? Like, obviously it's clear this person was like engaged in
like
this
Casey Anthony.
But then you forget of all of the stuff that happens before a trial and all of the things that are excluded and cannot be presented to a jury. Like a perfect example, Casey Anthony. There are things that the jury can't hear about her that we as the public know. And we as the people, like the court of public opinion, have found her to be guilty, but they exclude that because it's overly prejudicial to the defendant.
Well, and they sequester the jury in a lot of these so that like I think in Casey Anthony, and I don't know if you know this, I believe that the jury members were put up in hotel rooms and they weren't allowed to have like their phones or computers or anything. And they had no TV and no phone in the room because they could not be influenced by anything outside. So they literally don't know the things that we know.
Yeah. So one of the things really that the defendants try to do, and of course, this is just a general overview of the rule of evidence. Like there's so many exceptions to it, as we learned when we studied for the bar.
All five times, baby.
An exception. So evidence of a person's character or character trait is generally not admissible to prove that a particular occasion the person acted in accordance with that character trait, right? So like, say I'm a habitual car steal, like I steal cars. Just because that I've stolen cars before in the past, and then I happen to get caught and now I'm on a jury trial. Like, generally you couldn't use that, but there are certain examples of how, when you can use it, and it could be used, for example, proving motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, absence of mistake, or lack of accident. So it's like, yes, you may not have been able to use the fact that I stole vehicles in the past, but you can use it to prove, motive, intent. You can use it for others.
Right.
So
that you intended to do it again.
So bringing this back to Jen Shah, right? So Jen Shah's opposing, so the government had brought these motions in limine saying, hey, we want access to your financial records and we want access to your tax returns. And we want to be able to present this to the jury to show. And so the government's saying it should be allowed to admit evidence that shows Jen Shah exercised control over the discretion of the criminal proceeds of the telemarketing scheme by engaging in transactions using fraud proceeds, and directed others to spend criminal proceeds on expenses related to telemarketing fraud and her own personal expenses. So the government says that this is relevant to Jen participating in the telemarketing fraud and laundering money, providing that Jen Shah controlled the disposition of the fraud proceeds. And
which means she's
like the leader,
was in charge of where they were, where the money went.
And so, the evidence that Jen Shah's motive and intent to commit the charged crimes. So the government alleges that Jen and other co-conspirators spent money so quickly after like receiving this fraudulent money, from these elderly victims, that it's probative of her intent to defraud.
It's like those parties that she had, that it was like absolutely unreasonable that she had.
So basically, in summary, so what the government's saying is really they're wanting to focus on Jen's spending habits as if it finds her spending to be so highly probative that it's indicative of her motive to engage in this type of conduct. And because basically she was living beyond her means, right? And spending more than she could ever afford. Because as we've all asked, how is she affording this on a Coach Shah budget, right?
Right, exactly.
And so they said, this is in quotes,
Coordinator Shah.
I know you would love to correct that. This is a quote from the government's motion in limine. Jen Shah's spending habits and need to finance her expensive lifestyle provide necessary context for the defendant's conduct, which would appropriately be viewed as shockingly brazen, as an important factor that the jury should be permitted to consider in assessing the defendant's intent. So they're saying she's so reckless in her spending. And of course, and one of the things that the government wants to rely on is her spending on housewives.
Yeah, and for sure. She just bought diamonds.
And this lavish lifestyle. And Jen Shah's coming back and saying, no. Because Jen Shah's whole argument is, look, the government's clearly trying to evoke some type of, emotion and prejudice in the jury by introducing this luxurious spending habit, right? And they're saying that the only way that this evidence could really only be prejudicial, and there's no way it could be of any type of high value or probative, right? And so there's so many funny quotes. I actually invite you to go read the docket because it's hilarious. They're like,
I'll put it on the website.
Yeah. And so it says, if the government wants to introduce Jen Shah's tax returns, the government must show that the income it alleges was not reported. In fact, the income that was not reported was in fact came from fraud, right? And it didn't come from Coach Shah. And so the government must show that the money was in fact, or the money that Jen Shah was in receipt of and spent was indeed that of fraud and not income derived from some other source. And so Jen Shah's attorney literally says the government has to prove that the items that they're alleging are luxurious in quality, like she's living beyond her means through the evidence of the show. They have to prove that what she's wearing is, one, not fake, two, that she owned it, and then she owned it and the money that she used to buy it was a result of the fraud, and three, oh god, now I lost my train of thought. I just lost my train of thought.
Well, they probably also subpoenaed all her bank records, so they could match up the things that she bought with the bank records, like to be like, oh yeah, she did. Okay, good. You remembered.
The other thing was, and they must prove that it wasn't on loan, because there's a legitimate quote, and I wish I had it. This is me paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of like that the products that she was wearing were on loan as a because there are designers that are like just clawing at Jen Shah, like desperate to have her wear her products on TV.
Right, like that poor guy who's like still in therapy after she like completely verbally assaulted him.
And so that was just a brief snippet of like what's happening right now, and there's so many pretrial motions. Prepping for trial is going to be crazy, and so it will be interesting to see how the judge rules and what evidence he does allow in. I think it is a far stretch for the government to say, hey, her living a luxurious lifestyle is indicative of somebody that commits fraud. I think that's a stretch. I think you have to prove, hey, look, like she was engaging in this type of behavior to funnel her, like to basically feed this lifestyle.
Or I think that they could try the approach that the people who are coming after the Girardis, where they're like, no, they were reinvesting the money into these luxury items as a way to conceal cash.
So I bet you that the judge or the government then is going to say, okay, prove to us.
Yeah.
Give us the receipt. We'll have them authenticated.
Yeah,
have it authenticated. Show us the receipts that Louis Vuitton outfit or that entire Louis Vuitton suit was fake or on rental or on loan.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Like the receipts don't lie.
Yeah. The actual spending receipts. So crazy. I think we're just waiting on two orders from the judge, one for the subpoena where like they were trying to quash getting the stuff from Stu Chains' attorney.
And I think there was I saw a prior order from the judge relating to one of these, because there were multiple motions to quash that were filed, and he had previously denied or granted the motions to quash. And so I wonder if he's going to grant all of them or what's going to happen. But because I know there's a pending motion to quash with ABC right now.
Yeah. So actually, and I think something that is, I feel like misconstrued on social media is that this is Jen's motion to quash the footage. But Jen actually subpoenaed the
No, it's ABC's motion to quash.
Right, because Jen subpoenaed from ABC a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, she wanted every single thing related to that documentary, The Housewife and the Shah Shocker. And ABC's one of the reporters was like, absolutely not. Like, please don't make us comply, because if we did comply with the subpoena and we did produce everything related to The Housewife and the Shah Shocker, it would diminish the reputations of the journalists, because it would require providing sources.
I disagree with that. I think that she has a right to a fair trial, and I think that she has the right to confront witnesses. And if the prosecution will rely on statements that were used during that ABC interview or witnesses, then she has a right to confront those witnesses. But I mean, I doubt there's any like evidence that's going to weigh in favor of Jen to use in her defense. Like, it's all going to be inculpatory evidence.
Right. And the other thing I would say is, like, if we're going to sit here and like, let's just like weigh the burdens here of the subpoena being either granted or quashed, like, who do we care more about? The potential damage, maybe to a reporter's reputation, maybe, or that another woman is on trial facing, 20 plus years.
Yeah, and I also read too that ABC was making the objection that it was like an overly voluminous request or subpoena. It was overly broad. And it's like, sure, you can make that, but there's only a certain amount of records that exist. Like it's not like,
put them on a flash
yeah, I'm
drive.
sorry.
Put them on a
it's
hard
not
drive.
some 20-year investigation ABC News has been doing. They've been doing it for the last 12 months. Let's get real. And so I'm intrigued to see what the court does with that. I wouldn't be surprised if they order them to produce the documents, but TBD.
I kind of hope they do, but we find out that next Friday, March 18th. So hopefully we have like a good update.
Salacious.
Oh my God.
That's
that was so good.
While I've said that, I think I've said it like,
what?
I think I've said salacious like 12 times.
Good for you. That's a good vocab
And I
word.
do apologize to everybody that is listening about the Wi-Fi if it is cutting out. I'm so sorry.
And if you heard any of the ice in my cup, like also so
I've been
sorry.
drinking like this.
I know you were making me laugh. I was trying to lean back as far as I could. I didn't want to like accidentally make a weird mouth noise or something.
So funny. Well, I think that wraps up our debriefing that we were going to do. I think we'll probably come back and do one of our normal debriefings next week. Give you guys a little update because there was a sentencing in the Jussie Smollett case.
Oh yeah.
And we have had a request that somebody wants us to do like a reaction video to it. So
yes, Mr. or Mrs. Smith was like, please.
I don't know what to do. So we'll do a reaction video for the pod or for the Patreon. And then we'll do like a full recap of the sentencing. Cause I have seen some news articles and it has been interesting. Some of the things that have been said by him are vocalized.
Oh my God. I'm so excited. Yeah. Let's do that this week.
Yeah. So we'll do that. But before we wrap up, do you have any criminal behaviors?
Yes, I actually do have a criminal behavior. And this goes to a Kardashian related person.
I hope it's not mine.
I hope it's not yours either. Okay. Mine's in the outline. So mine goes directly to Kris Jenner and her mega church that has a membership fee of $1,000 per month and requires a tithing for members of 10% of their total income.
What is this church called?
It's called California Community Church.
With
all C's.
Very community based.
Exactly. So it's a 501c3. And I don't know if we should do another episode on this later because I'm like fascinated by this. But you know how they have that Kardashian closet where they sell all their used clothes, like that they got for free to a bunch of people who can't afford them?
Yeah.
And they're all, it gets donated to charity. Well, the charity they donate it to is Kris Jenner's church, the 501c3. So that's my criminal behavior is Kris Jenner's stupid fucking church with the stupid fucking membership fee. Greedy.
How do they have a membership fee to attend a service? Or do you think the membership fee
churches do all kinds of shit? Like, like cults and stuff. Like they really get you.
I'm going to have to do more research on it. That's a great criminal behavior. And I'm going to piggyback off that. Because we did briefly discuss this on the Patreon, and it is Kim Kardashian's statement that women just need to get up and fucking work. And it is not really necessarily Kim K's comment, but it's more of Kourtney Kardashian's
oh my God,
agreement to what Kim had said and said, yeah. It's like, shut the fuck up, Kourtney. Like, Kim yelled at you 2 years ago because you're so fucking lazy. Like, who are you?
Kim yelled at you 2 years ago.
You guys got in a physical fight over it. Like,
no, really, remember?
Each other. And it was
Khloe had to wash the walls of the spray tan.
Everybody to go watch the clip because there is nothing, and this is like kind of another criminal behavior, but when women overdraw their lip, like I can see that's not where your lip line begins.
Right. Exactly.
And
it's very
go
obvious.
Watch the video of Kim Kardashian talking. You can see it goes up above, like well beyond her lip line. And it was just,
it reminds me of like drinking too much Kool-Aid or something, you know, and you'd get that funny mustache of pink.
It's just, it bothered me so much when she said it because, and did you see the tweet that came out in response to Kim K's comment? And it was
which one? There were billions.
I used to be an editor for Kim Kardashian's app, and I used to make like dog shit money. Couldn't even afford gas, could barely afford my groceries, could barely afford my bills. But hey, like, thanks, Kim K, for the advice, you know? And it's like, lest we not forget the women that are waking up who have families that are working 2 to 3 jobs and can barely make it by, especially in this day and age with inflation and gas being $6.75 in the city. $7.
Shut up.
I'll send you a photo. $6.63 technically.
My sister said it went over 7 the other day in Orange County, and then and so that made my stomach hurt.
It's just like, it was a comment that was poorly. I get what she was trying to say, but it's like, nobody needs that from you.
No, I don't even want to give her that credit, because it's like, you know what? Fuck off. You're literally being sued by your former employees for underpaying them. So you can just take a stick and shove it up your ass.
I'm kind of grossed out by the whole Pete Davidson, Kim Kardashian and all, but wow, we're a Kardashian hater club today.
No, as I'm like, why they're doing that.
As I'm like preparing for their new show to premiere on Hulu.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking with the whole Pete Davidson thing, because when she broke up with Kanye and now everyone's like, what the fuck? Like, how did her and Pete get together? And it's like, how long have we been wondering this? And then she says, like last week, don't worry, we're going to show you in the next season everything that you've ever wanted to know about me and Pete. And it's like, great. Guess I'm fucking tuning in, even though I just spent 15 minutes blasting her and telling her to shove things up her ass.
As I'm sitting here bitching about gas prices being high, I guess I'll pay $57. Oh no, I'm sorry, $75 for my Hulu live commercial free subscription.
Lest we not discredit the fact that you spent how much on some Good American jeans with overnight shipping that didn't come on time.
I will say though, because this is the second time I've paid for overnight shipping and the pants have not arrived on time, but That's communicated with their team, and they somebody emailed me and they're like, I'm so sorry for that. Reimburse me immediately. And my pants came the next day.
Thank God.
Yeah. I will say I actually.
Yeah, because they probably sent Kim's underpaid worker like by foot to go drop them off. I swear that's
they probably have like tunnels throughout the state of California for all their businesses, you know, where they just like mule people.
Yes. 1,000%. Like, you know how in New York they have those underground systems that, like, used to be subways that like turned into speakeasies. And you know, there's that whole system down there. This is so off base, but underneath the subway system is the other subway system of like tunnels and everything. And there's a whole community.
Oh, I thought that was just Seattle.
No, there's a whole community of people who live down there, and they have like their own hierarchy. But
are they the rats?
In the words of a Kardashian Bible. No, they're people.
Okay,
for real.
We're gonna have to get into this later. We're getting into this offline. I don't believe you.
We'll get into that on the Patreon.
Okay, you guys.
Speaking of Patreon, shout out again to our VIP patrons, Classic Sky Tops, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, and CK. Please go give us a 5-star rating.
Absolutely. It feels good to be back. I feel like we've taken some breaks on the main feed. I do apologize. Life gets in the way, but we are back. We will be dropping some episodes next week. So
some collabs coming at you.
Stay tuned. Thank you guys for listening. Like Lauren said, like, subscribe, whatever you do, 5 stars.
And go donate the link in our bio. Direct relief.
Get up off your asses. Put your money off your asses and work, you know. Donate.
Actually, instead of subscribing to our Patreon, get off your asses, work for the money you would have given to our Patreon and double it to direct her.
Yes. Amen to that.
All right. We're adjourned, bitches.
Adjourned. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.